Thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. I want you to know that the tanks that are rolling into Washington, D.C. have not been for a parade, and for every single politician out there that's crying about how much it costs, well, wake up, dingleberries and fandangos, 24-hour go-go, because the war out in Iran has been obviously a very highly skilled and communicated joint strike between the United States and Israel together, as we destroyed pretty much every single nuclear munitions that Iran was sitting on. If you can recall, President Trump was giving them 60 days. And at the same time, I was wondering why all of these tanks were rolling into Washington, D.C. And I noticed it wasn't just howitzers. No, I noticed it wasn't just those type of munitions. What I saw was, and what you can see here behind me, are crowd controlling vehicles, 30 calibers, things to displace the orderly, do weapons. So if you have any plans on being mischievous around Washington, D.C., think again, because these toys are not here just to play. No, this was President Trump putting munitions around the Capitol so that Washington, D.C. doesn't look like Los Angeles, California. And when I scour the United States, citizens of the United States, I want you to know something. You see, Gavin Newsom is letting this happen to California. It's all right with him. It's all right that the city burns, because that's the way they do things, and they're not protecting business. They're protecting anarchy. Is this constitutional? Is this unconstitutional? Is it a takeover? In my opinion, I think it is. There's many people that disagree with me, but I think that if you're paying such high taxes for any business or location, that you're paying for security. And that doesn't include people like basically haphazardly destroying my personal property or yours. So we have these things that are happening, and we have the tanks that have come in, but I want you to understand we have the defense mechanisms that are in place to defend the Capitol. We have several choppers that have been landed, and I'm hearing that there's a ton of aircraft coming over, and this is not just for a parade. So if you're listening to your politicians talk about a parade, that's how out of touch they are. We did a joint strike on Iran. There's no way this could not have been a communication effort between the two, because you can tell by our level of protection that we're putting around certain places. So again, Washington, D.C., because of Trump, is not going to look like Los Angeles. For the great people of the state of Texas, we have San Antonio and Dallas, and we've had some things. I'm seeing maybe 6 different towns: Sanger, Salina, Denton. No kings. No kings in America coming here on July 14th, they say. And then we see Christy Walton, one of the Walmart family members. And so this boycott is floating around the United States. I'm hearing that. I want to remind everybody she's really not a Walton as much as she married into the Walton family, and I'm sure Sam Walton would like to kick her turd ass to the curb for the liberal hoopla that she's spewing. Because Sam Walton, he went to New Mexico Military Institute, and he defended our country, and he was a conservative man from Oklahoma and Arkansas. It's just a shame that his sons then married these liberal hacks that now get to freeload off of the family wealth that was done from a conservative patriot of the United States of America. So a lot of good has come from the world, and a lot of good's going to happen. The Capitol is protected, and we are protected. Now, as far as Israel and Iran, people ask me what side I stand on. I stand on the side of peace. I don't think that we should get involved in this at all. I know that we voted for a platform of peace, but I'm not seeing it. I do know that we have a war to fight right here at home, and I think we have 30 million illegal aliens that are knocking on our door at all moments. And I think that our police need to use deadly force. So I think that California is way out of control. Arizona, New Mexico, way out of control. Texas, pretty much halfway out of control. Those are the can't governors. California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, because those four governors can't do their job to build a wall. Now, I'll tell you why Abbott's guilty. I've given him enough gas tax money to build that thing 30 times over. So what's your excuse for violating the Constitution and the general welfare and the peace and tranquility of the state of Texas? The wheelchair crap just doesn't bode by me. Hopefully you get Dan Patrick in there, or somebody that's got a little bit more gusto to protect the citizens of the state of Texas. We have a war on our hands. Look at Los Angeles. Look at all these people with these different flags, waving them in our country. Does it work for you, or does that enable, in my opinion, the police and the military to do and to use deadly force? These are not arrests. Don't go fooling yourself. This is an invasion. These are not citizens. There might be 1 out of 10 collecting news, troublemakers, people that don't have a job. But other than that, it's going to be a deadly time out on the streets, and if you doubt that, there are more states that will follow in suit with Governor Ron DeSantis and the sheriffs of his state that now give its citizens the use deadly force if you're going to protest out on the streets. Now, that's a step in the right direction. If more states take this stance, we can knock this nonsense out immediately. There is a vehicle pedestrian code of law where pedestrians are not allowed to impede traffic, and based off those laws, the people of the state of Florida have a little bit more freedom, and they're going to need it because the state is inundated with illegal aliens all over the place. Now, we had 1,000 men die in the Ukraine last night because hate breeds hate, and the Ukraine just keeps on asking for it. Just yesterday, Putin told NATO, look, it's out of the question. Zelensky, no more. So, Zelensky, you have no more chance. Putin, hurry up and get the job done. I want to close down that laundromat pronto, Tonto. And you know what, another thing in America, I meet everybody, and we admire the way Russia's looking now. 20 years ago, 24 years ago, they were communists, but you know what? Yeah, President Putin killed communism. Now it just lives in China, North Korea, 2 places that totally suck, 2 places that we're totally fighting to this day. We need to end communism and end it now. The EU has fallen, NATO has fallen. That Ursula, she's just a criminal hack crook. And I'm going to tell you something, sovereignty, the war in Europe, Hungary and Slovakia. Boy, they're kind of looking at having some common sense here, I would say, because Hungary and Slovakia are openly defying the EU energy sanctions against Vladdy P and the KGB, warning of rising utility costs and national sovereignty threats as Brussels finalizes its 18th sanctions package. Both nations are leading a rebellion against the EU energy policy, demanding real energy security and refusing to abandon Russia because they know they shouldn't. So I think the world is not buying the Jewish media spin, and I think America is in for it. Now we will see. We heard Hezbollah has joined the action with Iran, but we don't know if the Muslim empire will unite against the United States and Israel. So those are the things that are happening, and I want you to know it's been very interesting. Now this Air India crash and Boeing, what a tragedy, and who was on this plane? And it was a fireball, and so many people died. And Boeing and woke, they're basically cutting it back. And Josh Hawley, Senator Josh Hawley, was on it, thank God. And he was talking about basically how they are completely just, hacking Boeing at the lives of people. And I want you to know that. Now, if you don't know that this is also a joint military strike, heads up, United States, here we're going. We're going in because we deployed Arleigh Burke class ships, and they're heading into the Middle East and into Iran. That's right, you heard me right. We got some things. We have the commander-in-chief wearing his white hat, getting ready to kick some booty. Here it comes. So there's a reason why we have all this firepower in D.C. There's a reason why you're seeing spruced up California, Florida, Texas in our border, because it's about to get hot and heavy. The Middle East war is on, and we have been communicating with Israel, and that is the truth on as to why there is a parade. Don't fool yourself. United States has shifted its military resources in the Middle East, anticipating an Iranian response to Israel's strikes on Tehran's nuclear capabilities. And I think because it was a joint effort strike, we kind of got rid of all the threat. Or I think we would have seen some sort of nuclear response, don't you? Now I hear the top guy's dead, the next 3 are dead, and they just appointed the next guy that's going to die real soon. Compliments of Benjamin Netanyahu. Just hold on, you'll see it happen. And I'm only saying they're batting 10 out of 10 at this point. President Donald Trump also met National Security Council officials to assess the situation. And right now, Israel, Tel Aviv, is getting its second round barrage of missiles from Iran, but nothing too tragic. So we have Tel Aviv getting hit. We have this new battleship going out. But those are just some of the things that are happening. Okay. So it'd be neat if some of this stuff would play out, but we, nevertheless have a ton of tanks, direct energy weapons, howitzers, everything lined up here in Washington, D.C. currently, and I'll be showing you some of the stuff here pretty soon. And that's if we can get it to happen. Alright, here we go. Alright, so as you can see, armored vehicles line up in preparation of Trump's military parade, 250 years, also coinciding with Orange Man Good with watermelon balls turning 79 years old. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Now, this is some footage that you can see pretty much next to the Lincoln Memorial around the Watergate where my offices are, and you can see a big preparation that's happening as we get ready to defend ourselves so that we do not look like Los Angeles. So it's good when you have a commander-in-chief that preempts this, but this tells me right here that we have been in direct communication with Israel. This was a joint strike. The last time we did this was 91-92, Operation Desert Storm. You just have to put it together before America does stuff like this. We had to protect the Capitol. We could call this standard operating procedure at this point. So enough of the parade. There will be a parade of might. But this is what we do when we go to war. Understand that, citizens of the United States. This is what we do before we go to war. You have a lot of young politicians out there that don't remember this. You have a lot of them that don't recall as far as what we did during certain days and certain times. This is one of those times, America. Now, as far as some people that have been doing a really good job, I could play Josh Hawley. And this is Senator Josh Hawley, as he was in fact basically getting on to Boeing. And at the same time, look at what's happening. I also brought up the Florida case and the sheriff and how the people in the state of Florida can use deadly force if need be. And this was going out there right after Ron DeSantis said that if you need to and you feel threatened by a mob of protesters, to just drive right through them and make them as dead as a graveyard, person in a graveyard. So Florida people, Floridians, have the right now to use deadly force in a vehicle to protesters. Protesters are violating the law. They're violating pedestrian codes of traffic, conduct, and now could be seen as terroristic threats. And I think this is a good move that they should enact this law throughout the United States of America, because these people have no right to impede traffic or business. And then what seems to happen next are fires, looting, and disorderly conduct. It's the definition of a riot, and inciting a riot or riots are unconstitutional. Once you know that the Marines have joined forces with the United States and Posse Comitatus is kind of in effect, and yes, today marks the first time, especially out in California, where we have the Marines actively arresting disorderly conduct, illegal aliens, and people that just plain deserve it in the state of California. If you think you have the right to do this, no, this is just basically you're rioting and you're a nuisance, a public nuisance. And I want to thank the President for getting the Marines. We have supposedly 4,000 National Guards now, backed up by 700 active duty Marines. We have Camp Pendleton ready, frothing at the bit, and they're getting trained to go in and use more force should be needed. And I do think that's going to happen. Now I'm going to talk about some interesting other stuff. What am I going to talk about? Well, weather phenomenons. We had a 2.2, can you believe this, really, a 2.2 mile wide long tornado in Texas today. And Grigsby was chasing it down, but I want you to look at how just scary this is. Brownfield, Texas, and this is Aaron Rigsby, and he's chasing some tornadoes that are going down. But let me just say, this stuff out here that's happening in Texas is, it's not common. And again, from Brownfield on up into Oklahoma, we had some tornadoes, and again, one was 2.2 miles wide. If this continues, I don't even see how we can have normal houses anymore. And so we're making these steady ceramic material homes, and with our friends and our network, we are putting together homes made out of steel and magnesium oxide, and they can withstand a 200 mile. What you're looking at though right here is a 1 mile wide tornado turning into a 2 mile wide tornado, and then a 2.2 mile wide tornado. I want you to look at this. This looks more massive than any bomb that you can see, and it eventually covers his entire camera field. So I just want us to prepare for these massive weather patterns that we've never seen, and we got to start building in a different way to prepare for this. But this is something I've never seen before, and we have to prepare for this. I'm just wondering how people in Brownfield, Texas made it out, or just a lot of the people that were in the path of this just monster tornado. And if this would have gone through Dallas, Texas, or another city, I just want you to think about the consequences of this. This lasted for 22 minutes on the ground traveling, and it was 2.2 miles wide. Look at this. This is the most just really ultimately scary tornado I've ever seen. And so my compliments to Storm Chaser Aaron Rigsby, getting this footage in Texas, risking his life. People like Allison, she loves doing that too, because you got to be kind of crazy to do this kind of stuff, but at the same time, it's never seen anything like it. And there were multiple tornadoes that were going around the main epicenter. So as this thing was 2 miles wide, there were actually then other tornadoes dropping off of the side of this, just tearing stuff to kingdom come. So this is near, we're going to call it the Morton tornado, and it's just as big as they get. And it's scary stuff, I'll tell you. Now, as far as the war that's begun, I want to give you an update. uh, there's no right that there's no doubt that we haven't gone into a war. So this was like some of the first barrage at Tel Aviv, and now we're on the second barrage. And there's no way that I've heard there's been 45 people seriously injured in Israel from the missile talks. And then we have the Ayatollah raising the red flag of Iran to unify Hezbollah and the Muslim kingdom against Israel. So this is the new crisis. This is Tel Aviv. The people in Iran are basically cheering with every missile that drops, vice versa. But I want you to think while they're doing that, we have supposedly not only is California in a disarray, but there's been reports that Chinese submarines have been spotted off the coast of California. So heads up, California. While we're tearing ourselves apart at the seams, and we have an internal struggle going on within our country, we have Chinese submarines off the coast of California, around Hawaii. They've been using these hydrogen bomb technologies. I think we're vulnerable to China, and we need to get our act together right now. So as we're fighting amongst ourselves, China is our biggest enemy, not Russia, China. And so we need to address that. We need to address that immediately. It's a major threat, and I think we need to be on high alert against China, especially the West Coast, Seattle, Oregon. I think the war is on right now, and we've been given full warning. As Donald Trump gave 60 days to Iran, and he was talking about the 8th negotiation. It never happened. He planned on hitting them because they think he's joking. Hopefully they know that President Trump is not joking at all. At the same time, we have China to worry about, I think, more so than Russia. And these are just facts that are coming in, and as the bombs are dropping. So the United States Marines have been put in action already domestically here at home, and we have let an enemy, the last administration, which in my opinion was a decoy administration working purely for China and Israel, to overtake the United States, and that they have. So Iran attacks Israel, 150 hypersonic missiles now, they're saying. So this is kind of a new one, and this is brand new. And this is, they say 150 plus hypersonic missiles struck the Israeli air defense system in Tel Aviv, and who knows how many they've actually let fly, but they've had 150 plus of them strike the ground. And this is new information within the last few hours, and let's just hope that things remain calm in DC and around Washington DC, because by going to war in Iran, think of all the Iranian American citizens that live in America. Think of all the citizens of Lebanon, of Saudi, every friend that you have that is Muslim. We've just banned 12 countries from coming to the United States, and today that number is 43 countries that we cannot trade with, countries that we might bomb, countries that our friends might have their grandparents or their parents live in. But this is what's going on because of, I don't know what you want to call it, Israel wanting to expand, Iran wanting to contract. But to me it smells like Nebuchadnezzar in the days of Esther, and that these cousins have been fighting for 2,800 years now. Our founding fathers said that Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of a religion. And by participating in these wars, in my opinion, we're violating the Constitution, because no matter what dollar we send to what side, we're either funding Judaism or Islam. But you know what we're not funding? Homeless American veterans, homeless Americans. And because we are being the world police, our country is crumbling. We need to totally make bribery and lobbying illegal in the United States. We need term limitations, 8 years on every position. Because if we don't make these rules, America, we're going to continue doing this. And then we're going to continue pretending that we're free. I love each one of you, and I do want us to be free one day. Please like, share, subscribe, and share this as much as you can, because it's through communicating with each other that we can keep each other free. And remember that love creates love, and hate creates hate. And so I don't want any of us to participate in this war at all, especially ones overseas. But as far as this domestic war here, we have to unite in the name of freedom. And I think we need to also protect countries such as Ireland, Great Britain, Australia, and understand that Great Britain pulled away today from the Israel-United States joint strike to Iran. So we're already dissipating, and divided we shall fall. Much love to all of our families, and I pray for the people over there in Israel, and I pray for the people over there in Iran, and I pray that we can get past all this and spread love, because I think that's really what we're about here in America. We're really about love. God bless you. Amen. And please, like we're saying, please be safe tomorrow. I can't stress enough as far as the military equipment that I'm seeing in D.C. And I'm going to go show you a little bit more of that even later on today. But I will be around the Capitol, and I want you to know that the Marines have already been detached in certain areas. Understand that 1,000 people died in Kiev just recently, just in the last 24 hours, and that Putin has a new branch of army. Let me talk about this now. I guess I need to. Yeah, the new branch of military is, he has a drone branch. So you know how we were creating the Space Force? Putin has created the drone force. And so he has hit Kiev yesterday with his brand new force, and it's the Russian drone force. So they're activating all their gamers, and they're going to town with it, as you can see. And they have just a whole entire now force of just people that are operating drones for complete attack to another country. And this is a first for mankind, and the first person to implement a new branch of government just using drones is Vladimir Putin. I pray that Vladdy P and President Trump can see eye to eye, and through Jesus unite us in the name of Christ, because most of them are Russian Orthodox and most of us are Christian, and together I think that we see the same great Jewish man that gave us the faith and the grace to be saved. And I think that if we back that and live through Christ, that we can defeat all of these wars together just through the love in that alone. So there's good and there's bad, and there's actual technology footage that you're seeing that they have here, from infrared to AI, and AI that can go and do multiple just kills. And this is a very advanced new section of the Russian military that all of Europe should be put on high alert about, and that is the Russian drone military branch, which was also just activated today. And as it was activated, they killed over 1,000 Ukrainian forces and took over 39 other strategic locations just in one day. I don't know what this week will be spelling for them, but all of this footage that you're seeing is 100% real, and these are the casualties of war. I'm also hearing things that almost sound like loud explosions. just outside the door. And I don't know what those are coming from, but we're not far from the Capitol at the moment. And we'll get to you and back to you to see what that can be. Did you hear that out there as well? But I did hear something, and I hope that it's just not our tanks going off, but something is on the horizon. And we have Iran with their second barrage of strikes against Israel. Now we have over 150 some odd hypersonic missiles that have hit the ground. And like I said, by the way our tanks are here in DC, you can't tell me that this was not a joint communicating attack between the United States and Israel. So just please be vigilant. Understand that there's a lot of serious stuff on the horizon. Understand that there is a civil war like a scenario going on from many of the large towns. For your safety, I would not attend any of these Three Kings, No King rallies, because in many areas the cops will not be ready to play. And in the state of Florida, they're letting you know now, if you try that crap, you're going to be graveyard dead, and that is their quote. So you try that crap in Florida, they're going to kill you. And I think that other governors should adopt the Florida way so that you can protect the people and the peace and tranquility and the general welfare of the United States of America and our citizens. And that's just a fact. So again, all these vehicles that you see out on the streets around the Capitol, if you pay close attention, you can see direct energy weapons, crowd dispersal, 30 millimeter cannons, 50 millimeter cannons, not just howitzers. And to me, that's serious crowd control in case stuff gets out of hand. I think they're going to live here for a while, and I think they're going to live here because we're going to war. So I'm going to pray for everybody and their families again, but notice the equipment, notice our movements, and notice our participation in things that we should not be involved in. I prayed for a path of peace, and I think we should all do that together. God bless you, and amen.